All right, guys, Sam back with you here, kind of middle of the day. And last up, no surprise, members looking for an update on Bitcoin. Now, we've looked at this whole correction enough times here that we don't need to dig through all of it again. You know, my assumption here is that from the swing low to swing high, as long as we stay internal, we have the bullish case stays alive. And now, you know, we may actually have something here we can work with here in terms of a technical pivot. Now, you look at this and you think, oh, swing low to swing high. Well, we've broken the 786. We're not quite this. The 887 is going to be lower, so we're a little bit, you know, askew there. So if you don't have the big swing giving you the precision you're looking for, you know, you may have to dig in a little bit more, see what else. Is there any other confluence I can find that would create that pivot there? Well, one thing we can kind of look at here. So first, clearly you can see that this median line has been a factor. So you can see how it's just tapping it. Now, one of Andrew's trading principles is that trading principle number 3 is that if we don't get an exact pivot on the median line, often the market will hover around it. It's almost like it looks like a snake coiling around a post or a branch. It will just snake around it until it makes a decision, or we get a trigger, or some volume picks. Something has happened to cause this now to move off of it. So looking here, well, it's, you know, what would you think? So look at this question being, okay, why are we stopping here, right? So that's when I look at that and go, okay, why'd stop there? Reasonable question. Is there some technical significance here that I'm not seeing relative to the obvious, low to high, right? That's not hitting. Now, we did get some precision on the way down. Note what happened here. Here's the 50, right? We got that reaction. Then we came down. Here was the 618. We had a tiny little reaction, but then we had the kick through, and then we got 2, and now through the 786. So what else could it be? Well, this is certainly a very complex correction. There's no there's no denying that. Now I have it. Excuse me. Excuse me. I have it as a WXY. So thinking, okay, well, if I've got a WXY, first place that I would look, just like I would look for a relationship between an ABC, a WXY, just connecting two ABCs. Well, I'm going to look for a relationship between my W leg, my X leg, swing, and the Y wave. So anything there that I could be missing. So if I work from my pivot high here down to my perfect tap of the 50 here for my W wave, and then pull up to my X wave, well, now look at that. Let's pull that over. Right? It's not to the tick, but that right there, as far as I'm concerned, is a confluence zone. So that's what we get. Now, it gets a little sloppy, no doubt. It's a little sloppy. We get a couple of wicks through the 100, but that intersection there of the 100, so the equivalency of the W wave projected from the X wave, as we tap the median line, you know, that gets my attention. So it's certainly potentially, you know, a trigger here. We've come down here. We know there's been a lot of volume acceptance down here as the market has just kind of, you know, as I said, snaked around that median line. Well, let's dig in on a smaller time frame. So from the hourly, I'd go to the 15-minute, see if we can get a handle on what's happening now in potentially what would be this fifth leg. Right? So we're trading this. So here's the B leg of assuming the WXY is what we experience here. So here's my W, my X. Here's the 5 waves of my A. Right? We've been through this before. Right? This is not the first time we've worked through this correction. So here's the 5 waves, the clear 5 of my A wave. A, B, C into my B. Now, the tricky part of this count is this very shallow 2 wave. All right? It's hard to count it any other way, but we definitely can get a motive wave, pardon me, an impulsive wave, a motive wave. Impulse is a motive wave. We can get a 5 wave structure down here, I'll say it that way, into a 1. I get this very skinny and shallow 2 wave. Unconventional, I'll use that word. Unconventional, non-traditional, non-typical 2 waves have been a big part of much of Bitcoin's trading. It just seems markets tend to get personalities, and this is a personality characteristic that we're seeing within Bitcoin. Difficult 2 waves. Well, 1, 2. Well, if we allow for that, then we're looking for an impulsive structure into a third wave, and yet again it gets a little, you know, a little iffy here. So this would be your 3, your 4, and your 5 into the 3. Now I get kind of an ugly 4 as well. It's not clean and clear and obvious. I can get an A, B, C. I've got to go into a diagonal into my C wave to give me a 4 here. But then I've got this price action. Now this starts to look a little bit more obvious here. As we get, as is often the case, as you're finishing a move like this, we get a diagonal. So in this case, we have an ending diagonal. So if I put the wave on it so you can see it, we have an ending diagonal to finish this. So what do we see? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Deep overlap here, and that's what's characteristic about a diagonal, is that it's a fight for trend. So bulls and bears fighting it out, thus the overlap, the indecision. Rather than clear, clean 5-wave structures, we get choppy 3-wave structures. So there is a case to be made here. Now, additionally, what else can we look for? We know in a diagonal, so let me take the wave off now that you can see it. We know in a diagonal, one of the tells is to look for the start of it. So if we work on the assumption that I've got a 4 in on this pivot high here. All right, I'm working from, I guess I can take this off just to declutter the chart. Okay, so let's take some of that off. We've established this as the 100. We know that's there. Could this be a finishing ending diagonal to give me that 5th of the C relative to this A, B, and C? So we see all of this stacking up down here, potentially. Get this right on top of it. So all stacking up for a C wave to finish the Y wave to finish the 2 wave, right? So the largest degree here, that's a contender. So the fact that we've moved now off of this in 5, you know, kind of an encouraging sign. So let's look at this relationship here where I started. The start of the 1 wave, right? If I can get it right on there. Start of the 1 wave through the low of the 3rd wave. Am I right on it? There it is. Okay, so here's the tell. So what we're looking for, the reaction in a diagonal at the 50, and we got a double tap. So from the swing high here of the 4, we start the 1, 3 wave 2, down for my 3, up for my 3 wave, and I actually get it twice. I get my 4 at the 50, and then we come down to algo target where we hover and then rip away from it. So, and now note here, if we look at the whole thing, right, we've already broken through the 65. So an encouraging sign for bulls. So let's pull this off and think about it. Now, if that's a contender down here, so I can build a case around the idea that I have a very deep second wave, very deep, complex second wave correction. Right? Not what anyone would ask for looking to get long into a market, but here it is. So we can build a strong case that I've got a technical pivot down here and that I am completing this second A, B, and my C down here. And I finish it in 5 and I get an ending diagonal in my 5th. All very, very positive. Well, if that's the case, then I've got a contender here coming off of that low for a 1 wave. Now looking for 2, 3, 4, and 5. So let's put that, we'll go into green so we distinguish it. So potentially now, so we see this little reaction here as we've got this, yeah, I mean, this is small. You're gonna have to, I gotta really dig in there to see it. So let me pull this apart a little bit. So here's the potentially, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is our absolute low. So it looks like we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 going in. So if I think about if this is my 2 and this is my 3, well, here's the 23, 6, and we don't know that we've stopped. We could keep going. We don't know that necessarily we've stopped here. A yellow line just tells me that there was prior significance there. There was some sort of a retest. So that, let me get it back in the, sorry, can I spot it on this time frame? It's way off to the left. Way off to the left. All right, we'll come back to that another time when I change the time frame. Okay, so I've got a contender here for a 1 wave to be finishing. Again, I don't know that I have it done here yet, but I'm getting a little pullback here. Wouldn't surprise me, but that could keep going. So we've got a contender for a 1 wave. Well, all we do now, right? I wouldn't be a buyer here. I'm just waiting for the 2. I've got all of the ingredients for a one wave to be going in. Once I get a pivot and I can make at least a 23% retracement on that, then I can qualify that as a one wave, and an impulsive one at that. So if let me free this up a little bit. Let's get it up here. So if we allow for that, well, the next play is trading the 2, right? Nothing, no rocket science here. So now, is the 2 going to be difficult? Are we going to go out, outside of the norms here? We know we want to be a buyer if we're looking for a 2 between the 50 and the 618. That's what we're looking for. Now, do we get it? You'd want to see it come down in 3. You'd want to try and get 3 out of it, right? So can we get something like that to set that up? Then you have an absolute must buy. It's just must buy. Now, I'm not saying, load the boat there, but I'm saying you've got a contender there for a 1-2 to be getting into what would likely be just the one wave. Shit, that could be the one wave of the one wave. But if you start putting this into the larger context of where have we been. So I'm down here on a 15 minute. So even just going back to an hourly, here's that yellow line. It was a prior wave 1 high. So prior resistance, coming back into play, possibly, right? Well, typically what you want to see is the market get through, and so prior resistance becomes the support. Here, we're not sure what's there yet, or we don't know that we have a pivot there yet. But we have a contender for this to be complete down here. So let me open this back up and get it so we can see it again. All right, so there is our contender for a pivot low that would finish the correction. All of the ingredients are there. Now, so you got to think about that. Say, okay, well, what if I'm wrong? What if I've just got this all wrong? What's the alternate count? Do we have a bearish count? Well, here's the bearish count. So the bearish count has it this way, that we are just putting in, so I got to put this in context. So in the bearish count, at least as I see it, and what we're looking at in the members Discord here is that this is we've got our X wave is here, and we're putting in a larger degree. Let me see if I can make it so you can see it here. So here's our W. X. We're looking to complete 2 ABCs. So from this X wave, this low down here, what we're proposing is the start of a one wave, is just the A wave, and that we have an ABC with a very short truncated C wave going into the B here. That's let me pull that off. Okay, so that's the bearish count, is that this is my B wave before we go down to some sort of a C, and we don't know where, some sort of a C down here. The idea is that we would be challenging that low, if not breaking it, to get us down here to finish this C leg and give us a Y down here below this prior low, which is, we'll call it 6,000 just for a nice round number. So let's think about that now. All right, so this is where it's kind of interesting. Now remember, I've got this in log scale. Let's take it out. Okay, so we can build a case here for a nice, clear, clean 5 into a one wave, right? So on the assumption that I've got a B here, I'm looking for a C wave to complete in 5. Well, let's see if it makes sense. So I've got my 5, but then I've got a little ABC right here. So for a contender for a second. Well, let's think about that. So if this is my one wave here, and I'm looking for my second. Well, again, as I was just noting, Bitcoin is prone to uncharacteristically shallow or deep second waves. We see it here. I mean, we see it here. It's just been characteristic of Bitcoin. Difficult, non-typical, outside of the norms of probabilities for second waves. So then you got to think of that and say, okay, well, that's right. That's right in Bitcoin's personality. I've got a shallow second wave. Well, if that's my second, I'm looking for this to come down and complete a third wave here. But that's unless we're going to stay atypical here. Now we did get an algo target here, but this would be a front run at the 38. That's a bit of a stretch. So let's think about it in terms of swing relationships. If this is my one wave here, I can just do some basic projecting and say, well, how's my potential third wave looking relative to my one wave? Well, we're not even close to 100% of it. Now, a reminder, the third does not have to be the longest. It just can't be the shortest. So if this is going to play as a C wave and we're going to finish in 5, well, we got to pay attention to if we do get this, if this does roll over and we get a 1, 2, 3, 4, we go back down and looking for a 5, we got to pay attention to the length of the 5th relative to the 3rd, right? Or we have to recount it. So looking at, sorry guys, looking at that 1, 2, this does not look terribly, but it just doesn't have the structure that you'd anticipate for an impulsive wave. Now, can I get 5 out of that? Yeah, because I just showed it to you in the bullish count that I can get with the skinny 2. I can get 5 out of that. Now, the pause in qualifying that as a third is because it's so much shorter than the 1. So we got to pay attention now to what happens when we hit if we're going to go up there and we're going to hit so this would be our sweet spot here for our 4th between the 38 and the 50. If it's going to go deep, well, there's the 50. Now we got to pay attention to the wave 1. So let's wick that off. All right. So this is this is not an unreasonable count. God damn it. Got to turn that off, guys. Sorry. All right. So there's a 1, 2. There's my 3 going in potentially here for a 4. One more push down for a 5. Look what that would do. So that would finish this 5th down here at this algo target. So if we come back up here, if we're going to go from here, we're going to get a pivot on the 5. That's what I'd be looking for the bearish count. Now that's still, look where that puts us. If I go to my absolute low here, we would still be internal to that swing low. Right, so just something to keep in mind. I mean, if this is going to be, if we're going to really finish with a good hard C, you'd be looking for it to go down and at least challenge that low. So this remains to be seen what we get here, and we don't know. We could be rolling over right here. 4 doesn't, certainly, right? So think about the bullish count as we saw a little bit of a divergence here with this move here. But take note that on the smaller degree, when we went down to the 15-minute, this sure looked like a 5. So that this could be, so we got a couple of candidates. This could be just the A wave going in. So this would be playing like this. So this would be our A, we'd have a B, and then we'd go into a C before we head back down here. So that's possible that we're in the midst of that. How are we going to know? Well, we're not going to know. We're not going to know until we see what kind of 2 do we get, and then what happens here. Given what happens in the 2, now again, we're looking for at least 100% the length of the A, and ideally we're looking for the 1618, the length of the A, to give us a contender for a third. But keep in mind, right, as I've mentioned before, that this swing here going to an external, if that finishes in 5, it sure looks like it might be an ABC. All right, you don't know. You don't know until you get the 4 and the 5. Do we get the last push up here to give it the structure of a 5th? Now we could run into that. Now if that we complete and we go up there in 5, then that's less probable because it doesn't have the swing structure that we'd be looking for a 4th wave, right? We don't want to see 5, right? If you're a bear, you want that. You want to see that. And you don't want this breaking the 50, right? Because we know, regardless of the Elliott count, algos don't care about an Elliott count. They're just taking a swing high to a swing low, selling the 50. So that's going to be stiff resistance that we have to deal with. But you can't qualify it until we see what happens as we come back down here and potentially either it's a 4th wave before it goes up for a 5th. Right, as I just showed you, do we go up for a 5 or do we just come ripping down and put in a 5 this way? Like that. No way to know. No way to qualify it. So you got to pick a side. Look for where can I get a probability advantage. If I take it, where am I absolutely certain that I'm wrong? What's my trading plan? All of the questions you got to ask yourself. If I'm right, where's my target? Right, if this is a 1-2, is your target up above 20,000? Well, could be, right? I mean, if that's a 1-2, it's hard to argue with that, but a lot of things are going to have to happen. You're going to have all sorts of retracements along the way. So I would propose to you, maybe work out a plan of targets where you would take some partial profit along the way and look to reload on a retracement, right? You don't have to catch the entire move. There's lots of opportunity along the way, right? For this type of trading, right? As I will often tell you, if you want to work with this kind of precision, I should say it this way. If you want to trade with this kind of precision, it takes work. You got to work at it. You got to learn how to do this first. You got to learn what these relationships are. You got to figure out how to qualify where you are in account, what the algos did last, where's the market geometry, what's the last swing relationship that I'm dealing with, how does that fit in with the larger degrees. It just takes some work, right? It's not supposed to be easy. This is one of the hardest ways to make money. So don't let 2017 cloud your judgment about how easy it is to make money in trading, right? Everybody's a genius in a bull market, right? So let's keep some perspective. This is not going to be easy. Trading this has not been easy. All sorts of false breaks and twists and turns along the way. That's what makes it interesting. Now, can you take interesting and make it profitable? Well, that's where money management, discipline, an ability to read the market, and a willingness to look at both bulls and bears side. First question, where am I wrong? And if I'm wrong, what's my response? Am I just out of the market? Can I quickly turn being wrong into being right? Can I flip? If it's not this, then it must be that, and I can recover that trade with profit on top of it. These are the challenges every trader goes through. Right? Want to learn how to do it? We can help you. TradeDevils.com. We're teaching a lot of people, and a lot of our members are having really positive results. Right? But it's not easy. Stops are part of it. Get used to getting stopped out. All right, guys, give us a visit over on TradeDevils.com if you're interested in learning how to apply this methodology. Now, you see what we do here in crypto. This can be applied to any asset class. It does not matter. It does not matter, right? And if you want to see it applied to other assets, you can go over to our other YouTube channel at Trade Devils with an S. Trade Devils is on YouTube. That's our channel there, so you can see the exact, and I mean exact same methodology applied to traditional assets, right? It's the same. It's just fear and greed, human nature, crowd mentality, crowd dynamics. It's the same thing. Crypto just happens to be the asset we're looking at now. That's where there's a lot of excitement, a lot of action, a lot of volatility, just what traders love. Thus, here we are in crypto. All right, guys, that's kind of long for the day. All right, I will wrap it there. Give us a visit on TradeDevils.com, and perhaps we'll see you in the Discord. Okay, guys, that's it for